The ancient Sumerians and Egyptians were deeply rooted in their belief in a multitude of gods. While some cultures focus their worship on a single god, the faith of the Sumerians and Egyptians encompassed a plethora of divine beings, each with a unique role and personality. These gods were not only worshipped but also viewed as part of a complex web of relationships that surrounded the cosmos and human life. Egyptian religion and the pantheon of gods evolved over a period of about 3,000 years, from the Old Kingdom to the Late Period. Throughout this long span of time, the appearances and meanings of the gods changed repeatedly. Sumerian religion and its pantheon of gods date back to the 4th millennium BCE, to the earliest days of Sumerian civilization. In this era, the gods were conceived more as natural forces existing in forms that were non-human. However, during the 3rd millennium BCE, an anthropomorphic view of the gods began to develop. They were now depicted in an ordered hierarchy and assumed human-like forms. Some gods were worshipped for centuries, while others gained significance only temporarily. This diversity often reflected the complexity of the cosmos and human experiences. Due to trade relations and cultural contacts between the two ancient civilizations, it is quite possible that there were mutual influences in religious beliefs and practices. The interaction between the Sumerians and the Egyptians could have led to the spread and adaptation of religious ideas and traditions, contributing to further development of their respective belief systems. The Sumerians are regarded as the oldest people engaged in trade, starting as early as the 4th millennium BCE. The Egyptians developed their trade activities somewhat later, around the turn of the 4th to the 3rd millennium BCE. The trade routes of the Sumerians intersected with the caravan routes of the Egyptians in Palestine. The Sumerians traded high-quality products from their manufacturing industry, such as copper, silver, gold, and gemstones. The Egyptians exported gold, among other goods, to Sumer. There was a lively exchange of goods and raw materials between the two ancient civilizations. In Sumer, fortified settlements and international trading companies emerged at important trade junctions. The Sumerians had a sophisticated education system to teach economic accounting and trade. It is speculated that the seafaring of the Minoans on Crete around 2000 BCE facilitated trade between Egypt and Sumer. Overall, the trade between Egypt and Sumer had a long tradition dating back to the 4th millennium BCE. Both ancient civilizations benefited from the exchange of goods and raw materials, which was organized through sophisticated trade systems and transportation routes. The religions of the Sumerians and Egyptians were closely linked to a distinctive priesthood and temple systems. Each Egyptian city and region had its own local deities and myths. Certain gods such as Ammonius, Min, or Anubis were primarily worshipped in certain areas. The main gods such as Re, Isis, Osiris, and Horus were worshipped nationwide. There were also numerous local gods and goddesses who were worshipped in different regions. Complex rituals and sacrifices regularly took place in the temples to worship the gods and gain their favor. The priests had a high social position in both cultures because they were considered mediators between people and the gods. Their role was to carry out the ritual acts and meet the spiritual needs of the community. Both the Sumerians and Egyptians developed rich mythologies with tales of creation, battles between the gods, and heroic deeds that provide insight into their worldviews. These stories were an integral part of their culture and helped people understand their relationship to the gods and the world around them. The ancient Egyptians believed in an extensive pantheon of gods who had different functions and appearances. These gods played a central role in the religious life of Egyptian society. The Egyptian pantheon was extremely diverse and included major gods such as Ammonius, who was originally worshipped as the wind god and was later considered the most powerful god of the empire. Atum was the creator god who had various animal forms. Osiris was worshipped as the god of the underworld and life, while Re was known as the sun god and Isis as the mother goddess and magician. Horus, the falcon god, was considered the son of Osiris. For example, Anubis was worshipped as a jackal god and god of the dead, while Bes was popular with the people as a dwarf-shaped god. Sobuk was a crocodile god worshipped in the Fayum, and Hathor was a cow and sky goddess worshipped in Dendera and Thebes. Triads such as Osiris, Isis, and Horus were important families of gods who were worshipped together. There were also dead gods and goddesses, such as Anubis and Osiris, who had a special meaning in connection with the cult of the dead. The ancient Egyptians had various, sometimes contradictory, creation myths that arose in the country's various cultural centers. These myths were an integral part of Egyptian religion and helped people understand their relationship to the world and the gods. In ancient Egyptian mythology, there was no uniform, universally valid creation story, but rather a multitude of myths that painted a complex and multifaceted picture of the creation of the world and the gods. This resulted in a confusing and unique patchwork of narratives. One of the oldest creation stories comes from Heliopolis and revolves around the god Atum, who was worshipped as the original creator. According to this story, Atum rose from the primordial ocean nun and created from himself the primordial hill on which the first gods emerged. Atum was considered the father of all gods as he combined both male and female aspects. The sun played a central role in Egyptian creation myths, particularly the solar god Re, and his daily journey across the sky. The rising and setting of the sun symbolized the cycle of creation, death, and rebirth, which was viewed as an eternal cycle. The annual floods of the Nile were also interpreted as part of this cosmic cycle, which included emergence, decay, and renewal. The Egyptian idea held that humans were responsible for the survival and renewal of creation. Through his actions and ritual practices, humans were able to create order and maintain the cycle of creation. Other creation myths come from various cultural centers in Egypt, such as the creation myth of Memphis, in which the craftsman and creator god Ta created the world through his word and thoughts. The creation myth of Hermopolis, on the other hand, tells of the 8 primordial gods who emerged from the primordial ocean and created the world by representing pairs of opposites, such as male-female and above-below. The creation myth of Esna describes how the creator god Khnum formed humans on a potter's wheel and gave them life. Overall, the diversity and complexity of the Egyptian creation myths illustrates the cultural and religious diversity of ancient Egypt, as well as the different ideas about the origin of the world and the gods. However, they have in common with the Sumerians the idea of a creator god who created the world and the gods from the original state of chaos. It can therefore be said that the Egyptian creation myths were characterized by great diversity and complexity, linking different aspects such as gods, sun, and nature. Humans played an active role in ensuring the continued existence of creation. In both Egypt and Sumer, creation goddesses played a central role, in Egypt Atum and Ta, in Sumer Namu. In both cultures, creation was often portrayed as arising from a primordial ocean or sea. The idea of a creator god who creates the world and the gods out of chaos can also be found in the myths of both advanced cultures. Both cultures had a distinct world of gods with a hierarchy and relationships between the gods. In Sumer, the god Enki often acted as the creator of people, while in Egypt various gods such as Adam, Ta, or Khnum took on this role. The Sumerian myths placed greater emphasis on the creation of the gods themselves, while in Egypt the focus was on the creation of the world and man. The Egyptian creation myths were regionally very diverse and contradictory, while the Sumerian myths tended to form a more unified tradition. It turns out that despite regional differences, the creation myths of the Egyptians and Sumerians share some fundamental similarities that indicate cultural exchange and mutual influence in the region of the ancient Near East. Some aspects of the Sumerian ideas about creation may also have been incorporated into the Old Testament, such as the Babylonian exile. It is believed that Sumerian mythology had a strong influence on the Akkadian, Babylonian, and Hittite cultures. Overall, the information shows that although the Sumerians and Egyptians were both polytheistic civilizations with distinctive priesthoods and temple systems, the exact connections and possible interactions of their religions cannot be clearly clarified. What do you think about the possible religious influences between the Sumerians and the Egyptians? Did the Sumerians actually shape Egyptian beliefs? Your opinion is important to me. Thanks for watching. See you next time.